They laughed. They really laughed. A galaxy full of towering warlords, ancient empires, and species with technology that could bend stars into weapons. And they all broke into laughter the moment humanity presented its first set of rules for interstellar conduct. The Galactic Concord had been debating Earth's entry for months. The humans were new, undeniably primitive by galactic standards, but there was something unsettling about them. They didn't beg for a seat at the table like others had. They didn't offer exotic resources or powerful weapons as proof of worth. Instead, they arrived with a document, 60 pages of strict regulations on warfare, diplomacy, trade, and even etiquette, and they insisted every member of the Concord read it before any formal discussions began. The reaction was immediate. Some laughed outright. Others scoffed. One reptilian ambassador hissed in amusement, while another, a towering insectoid from the Xeric swarm, simply crushed the document in his clawed hand before tossing it to the floor. "This is what you bring us," he clicked. "Rules? You come here not with strength, but with laws?" A human diplomat, calm and composed, retrieved the document without a word. He placed it back on the table and said only one thing: "We do not seek war, but we will not tolerate chaos." That statement would echo across the stars. Humanity's first test came within weeks. A minor dispute over a disputed mining zone between two alien factions escalated when a rogue warlord decided to test Earth's resolve. He launched an unprovoked strike on a human outpost orbiting the planet Virex 9, expecting a diplomatic protest at most. He got something else entirely. Within hours, a single message was transmitted across all channels. By Article 12, Section 4 of the Human Conduct Accord, unauthorized aggression against a recognized human territory constitutes a formal declaration of war. Pursuant to Rule 37C, the aggressor shall be given one opportunity to surrender under terms outlined in Protocol Delta 9. No threats, no bluster, just cold, precise language backed by undeniable authority. The warlord laughed again. "You think words scare me?" The next message came not from the diplomats, but from a human marine station on the nearby carrier Endeavor. His voice was calm, almost bored. "You have 5 minutes to comply. After that, your fleet becomes target practice." The warlord hesitated. Then he laughed again. He wouldn't laugh after the first ship exploded. It wasn't a massive strike. No overwhelming force. Just a surgical hit. One precision shot from a railgun platform hidden in the asteroid belt. It vaporized the lead destroyer in less than a second. Silence followed. Then panic. His fleet scattered. 2 ships surrendered immediately. One tried to flee. It was intercepted and disabled. The warlord himself was captured alive and handed over to his own people, with a complete record of his violations and the consequences imposed by human law. No bloodshed beyond the initial attack. No unnecessary destruction. Just order, enforced with quiet efficiency. Word spread fast. The galaxy had underestimated Earth. Another incident followed soon after. This time, during a joint military exercise hosted by the Zalari Dominion. The goal was to test interspecies coordination. The Zalari, known for their brutal training methods, decided to push the humans hard. During a simulated battlefield scenario, a Zalari commander ordered his forces to simulate the retreat. When the human squad moved forward, he ambushed them with stun rounds, then declared victory. The human marine in charge stood up, brushed off the dust, and looked directly at the commander. "You violated Clause 5B, he said. "Simulated surrenders are prohibited in this exercise. Your actions constitute cheating under agreed-upon conditions." The Zalari commander smirked. "This is war. There are no rules." The Marine nodded once. "Then we'll proceed accordingly." Without warning, the entire battlefield went dark. Every drone, sensor, and comms relay shut down simultaneously. The Zalari forces were left blind. Then came the counterattack. Human drones swept in silently, marking each enemy position with pinpoint accuracy. Within minutes, every Zalari soldier was tagged, disarmed, and detained. The simulation ended with a single message displayed across every screen. Rule violation confirmed. Victory awarded to Earth delegation. The Zalari were furious. They demanded explanations, apologies, sanctions. Instead, The humans offered a simple response. We follow the rules. We expect others to do the same. But not everyone listened. At a diplomatic banquet hosted by the Thalzir Union, an elder diplomat insulted a human envoy by referring to him as a soft-fleshed child, in a tone meant to provoke. In Thalzir culture, such remarks were considered playful challenges. To them, it was harmless. To the human envoy, it was a direct violation of Article 28, subsection C. Diplomatic decorum must be maintained at all times. Personal insults toward envoys are considered breaches of trust. Without a word, the envoy stood up, bowed politely to the host, and walked out. The banquet continued in confusion. But then, the rest of the human delegation followed. Every single one. No explanation. No drama. Just silence. Hours later, Earth officially recalled all envoys from the Thalzir system until a formal apology was issued. Not a threat. Not an ultimatum. Just a withdrawal, clean and absolute. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Earth had made its point. And still, some refused to understand. A faction of rogue pirates, emboldened by the early mockery, launched a raid on a human colony world. They believed Earth would respond with protests and legal filings. They expected delays, bureaucracy, hesitation. They didn't expect retaliation. Less than 6 hours after the attack began, a single drop pod landed outside the pirate base. Out stepped 3 figures in black armor, silent and unmoving. One of them activated a speaker. You have violated Article 44, Clause A. Unauthorized attacks on civilian populations are classified as acts of war under Rule 62Z. You are hereby ordered to stand down and prepare for detainment. The pirates laughed. Some fired shots into the air. The Marines didn't flinch. Then the sky lit up. From orbit, kinetic strikes rained down, not on the pirates, but around them. Precision impacts sealed escape routes, disabled vehicles, and shattered defenses without killing a single soul. The pirates panicked. The Marines advanced. Not a single shot was fired. Yet, within minutes, the entire compound was under control. Every pirate was subdued, cuffed, and loaded onto waiting transports. No executions, no interrogations, just containment. And a final message broadcast across all frequencies. Earth does not seek vengeance. Earth seeks justice. By now, the message was clear. Humanity did not fight like others. They didn't rely on brute force or overwhelming power. They fought with discipline, strategy, and above all, rules. Rules that were written not for show, but for survival. Rules that had been forged in centuries of war, rebellion, and chaos. Rules that had saved lives. And now, those same rules were being applied beyond Earth. The galaxy had mocked them. Now they feared them. But the real lesson was yet to come. Because rules alone don't win wars. It's the willingness to enforce them that matters. And Earth had just begun. A single Marine stepped onto the council floor. No banners, no escort, no fanfare. Just a man in dark armor. Standing alone beneath the towering holograms of alien leaders who had laughed at humanity's rules. He didn't speak right away. He let the silence stretch, heavy with expectation. The reptilian ambassador hissed impatiently. The insectoid warlord clicked his claws together. Others muttered among themselves. Then the Marine lifted his visor, revealing sharp, unflinching eyes that swept across the chamber like a weapon locking onto its target. "I am here," he said, voice low and steady, "to explain why you should never have laughed." The room went still. He walked forward slowly, each step deliberate, each movement measured. A human diplomat stood off to the side, ready to intervene if needed, but the Marine raised a hand without looking. "Let me speak." No one stopped him. "You see us as weak," he continued. "You think our rules are signs of hesitation. You believe our refusal to strike first is cowardice. But I will tell you what those rules truly are." He paused, letting the weight settle. "They are not chains," he said. "They are weapons." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "You tested us," the Marine said. "You struck at our colonies, mocked our diplomats, broke our agreements. And every time we responded, not with rage, but with precision. We did not fight like you. We did not destroy needlessly or kill for power. We applied order where there was chaos. He turned toward the insectoid warlord who had once crushed the treaty document. You thought laws were useless, he said. But laws backed by strength become something else entirely. They become inevitability. The warlord clicked his mandibles, uncertain now. The Marine continued. We do not seek war. But when it comes, we do not waste time with theatrics. We calculate, we execute, and we end it cleanly, because we have done this before. Not just against you, against ourselves. He tapped a button on his wrist. A massive display flickered to life above them, showing ancient footage, black and white images of Earth's past wars, cities burning, soldiers marching into fire, explosions tearing through landscapes. This is where our rules came from, the Marine said. We wrote them in blood. Every line was paid for by millions of lives lost to disorder, to greed, to unchecked violence. He pointed at the screen. We learn from our mistakes, he said. And now we enforce what we've learned. Silence fell again. This time it was not dismissive. It was contemplative. Then came the next part. The last time you underestimated us, the Marine said, a warlord attacked Virex 9. He believed he could test Earth's limits. He laughed when we gave him a chance to surrender. He looked directly at the insectoid leader. You know what happened after? The warlord shifted uncomfortably. Another time, the Marine said, you staged a false retreat during a military exercise. You thought humans would fall for tricks. He glanced toward the Zalari commander seated nearby. You found out what happens when you break the rules. The Zalari stiffened. And then, the Marine continued, a diplomat insulted our envoy. He believed it was within his cultural rights. He thought Earth would tolerate disrespect. He turned toward the Thalzir elder. You watched as we simply walked away. No threats, no drama, just action. The elder lowered his gaze. But the greatest mistake, the Marine said, voice hardening, was attacking a civilian world. The pirates had thought they were safe. That Earth would hesitate, debate, send messages. They had been wrong. Within hours, the entire operation was dismantled. Precision strikes sealed escape routes. Tactical drops neutralized resistance. Every pirate was captured alive. No unnecessary force. Just control. You assumed our restraint meant weakness, the Marine said. You were wrong. He took another step forward. Our rules are not suggestions. They are boundaries. Cross them and you face consequences. Not because we want revenge, but because we understand balance. He looked around the room. Chaos breeds destruction. Order prevents it. A pause. That is why we follow the rules. Another pause. That is why we win. The display behind him changed. Dozens of treaties, legal documents, and military doctrines scrolled across the screen. These are not just words, the Marine said. They are commitments, agreements made under law. And when others violate them, we respond accordingly. He turned to the council. You wanted to see if Earth would bend. His expression remained unreadable. We don't bend. A beat. We break what needs to be broken. The chamber was silent for a long moment. Then, one by one, the alien leaders looked at each other, not with amusement but with understanding. Humanity was not weak. They were disciplined, controlled, uncompromising. And now the galaxy knew. The Marine stepped back, lowering his visor. My message is delivered, he said, without another word. He turned and walked out. Behind him, the laughter was gone. In its place was something far more powerful. Respect. They didn't just follow rules, they enforced them. And in doing so, they changed the galaxy. It started with a simple test of neutrality. A human convoy was caught between two warring factions near the border of the Virex expanse. The conflict had raged for decades, and neither side wanted to stop. When the human ships arrived, both factions assumed they would be dragged into the fight one way or another. But the human captain did not raise weapons. He did not retreat. Instead, he issued a single transmission. By Article 17, Section B of the Human Neutrality Accord, all hostilities within this sector are hereby suspended for 48 hours. Any vessel engaging in combat during this period will be classified as an aggressor under Rule 23Z. The message was clear. Fire on us, and you're at war with Earth. One faction hesitated. Then the other. Neither wanted that. Within minutes, weapons powered down. Shield dropped. Silence fell over the battlefield. The convoy passed unchallenged. And just like that, peace was restored, if only temporarily, not through force, but through presence. The galaxy was beginning to understand. Another incident unfolded on a distant world known as Korvath, where two rival species fought bitterly over control of a mineral-rich continent. Peace talks had failed repeatedly. Every mediator had been dismissed or ignored. No treaty held. No ceasefire lasted. Then Earth sent in its observers. Not soldiers. Not diplomats. Just a small team of human envoys trained in conflict resolution and rule enforcement. They landed in the heart of the contested zone and simply stood their ground. No negotiations. No demands. Just observation. For 3 days, they remained unmoving, documenting every act of aggression, every broken agreement, every violation of international law. Their presence alone forced both sides to hesitate. On the 4th day, one faction fired upon a civilian settlement. The humans responded instantly. A single message was broadcast across all channels. Violation confirmed. Pursuant to Article 48, Clause C, all trade agreements with the aggressor faction are hereby suspended. Additionally, humanitarian aid will be redirected exclusively to the affected population. That was all. No warships. No threats. Just consequences. The aggressor found itself isolated overnight. Allies withdrew support. Trade routes were cut off. Within a week, they sued for peace. Because no one wanted to face Earth's quiet power. And then came the diplomat who refused to back down. At a summit hosted by the Thalzir Union, now much more cautious after their earlier mistake, a senior alien envoy attempted to exploit diplomatic immunity to avoid accountability. He had orchestrated a covert operation that resulted in the deaths of several civilians on a neutral world. Under galactic law, his status protected him from arrest. He thought he was untouchable. But the human ambassador had other plans. Rather than demand justice directly, she initiated a formal legal process under the newly adopted human legal framework. She filed a detailed report, complete with evidence, testimonies, and legal citations. Then she submitted it to the Galactic Concord for review. The envoy laughed. "You think paperwork can stop me?" She didn't respond. She simply waited. Within 48 hours, the report reached the highest levels of the Concord. The envoy's own government reviewed the findings and realized that if they allowed him to remain, they would face sanctions under Earth's economic treaties. So they recalled him, stripped him of diplomatic status, and handed him over to the victims' families. No violence, no confrontation, just the weight of law applied correctly. And still, the most powerful moment came not from a battle or a negotiation, but from a line that would not break. On the disputed world of Drenkai, a human peacekeeping force was deployed to oversee a fragile ceasefire. Both sides believed the humans would fold under pressure. After all, they weren't warriors in the traditional sense. They didn't charge into battle or demand submission. They simply held their ground. When one faction attempted to push forward with an armored assault, the human commander ordered his troops to stand firm. No weapons were raised. No retreat was made. The enemy advanced. The humans did not move. Tanks rolled toward them. Fighters circled overhead. The tension was unbearable. Then came the final warning. You are violating the terms of the ceasefire. You have one opportunity to halt your advance. The enemy commander laughed, and then the first tank exploded. Not from direct fire, not from missiles, from sabotage. Human intelligence had embedded countermeasures deep within the enemy's supply lines. One signal from the commander's wrist activated them. Engines failed. Weapons jammed. Communications went dark. The entire assault collapsed before it even began. The enemy pulled back. The ceasefire held. And once again, Earth proved that discipline, not brute strength, was its greatest weapon. Word spread quickly. Other species began adopting human-style protocols. Not out of fear, but out of necessity. Because when Earth entered a conflict, it wasn't about winning. It was about ensuring that no one else could afford to lose. Even the Zalari Dominion, once dismissive of human tactics, began incorporating Earth's military ethics into their training academies. Their instructors now taught recruits not just how to fight, but why they must fight within limits. A new generation of interspecies officers grew up respecting humanity not for its technology, but for its principles. And finally, there was a case that became legend: the rebellion that won without firing a shot. A small colony under the oppressive rule of the Koran Empire rose up against their overlords. For years, they had suffered under brutal governance. But every time they resisted, the Empire crushed them with overwhelming force. Then, a human observer arrived. He did not bring weapons. He did not rally the rebels. He simply invoked an ancient clause buried deep within the Concord's forgotten archives, an obscure lore regarding planetary sovereignty and self-determination. The Empire scoffed, until the human transmitted the ruling to the entire galactic network. Suddenly, the rebellion was no longer just a local dispute. It was a matter of law. The Koran Empire found itself facing diplomatic isolation. Trade partners withdrew. Military allies hesitated. Even internal dissent within the Empire grew. And within days, the governor of the colony resigned. The rebels did not win through force. They won because Earth reminded the galaxy of something long forgotten. That justice, when applied with precision and backed by unwavering resolve, is more powerful than any fleet. And now, no one laughed anymore, because the galaxy had learned its lesson. Rules were not weakness. They were the foundation of order. And Earth had built an empire, not a conquest, but a control, of discipline, of honor. Time passed. The galaxy changed. Humanity was no longer the laughingstock of the stars. No longer the naive newcomer with strange ideas about order and conduct. They were something else now, something that could not be ignored. They had become the architects of peace, not through conquest, but through principle. It started subtly. At first, it was only the smaller factions who adopted human-style legal frameworks. Then came the trade guilds, incorporating Earth's dispute resolution protocols into their contracts. Even pirate clans, once chaotic and unpredictable, began avoiding human-controlled space, not out of fear, but because they knew there would be consequences if they broke the rules. But the real shift came when the Galactic Concord itself began integrating human doctrine into its core policies. The trial of the Voidborn became the turning point. An ancient species, the Liarzon, faced extinction due to internal strife. Their own laws had failed them. Their leaders were deadlocked in endless conflict. Desperate, they turned to Earth for arbitration. A single human judge arrived, escorted by no army, carrying no weapons, only a case file and a tablet. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Every argument was recorded, every claim reviewed, every decision made under strict adherence to law. There were no secret deals, no political favors, just cold, impartial justice. And when the ruling was delivered, both sides accepted it without protest, not because they feared Earth, because they respected it. That moment marked the beginning of a new era. Humanity was no longer just a member of the Concord. They were its stabilizing force, not because they ruled with an iron fist, but because they held firm to what others had abandoned: accountability. Soon, interspecies academies opened across the galaxy, teaching not just tactics, but ethics. Cadets from every world studied human military doctrine, not for its brutality, but for its restraint. They learned that war was not about dominance. It was about control, about knowing when to fight, and more importantly, when not to. One academy in particular gained renown, the Orion Institute of Interspecies Law. It trained diplomats, officers, and peacekeepers from dozens of civilizations. Graduates swore an oath not just to protect their people, but to uphold the values that humanity had proven time and again: discipline, integrity, justice, and the most powerful word of all, honor. Then came the day when a high-ranking alien general, known for his ruthless campaigns, violated a minor diplomatic rule during a summit on neutral ground. It was a small infraction, refusing to salute a foreign envoy, something considered trivial in his culture. But a human officer noticed. Without drama, without confrontation, he simply stepped forward and said, Rule 14B. You are in violation. The general scoffed. You mean to shame me over this? The officer didn't raise his voice. He simply handed him a copy of the agreement signed by all attending parties. You agreed to these terms, the officer said. We expected better. Silence followed. Then, unexpectedly, the general bowed, not in defeat, in acknowledgement. It was the first time any leader of his species had ever apologized for anything. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. This was no longer about Earth enforcing its will. This was about Earth setting a standard, and the universe was rising to meet it. Then, finally, the last laugh was had. Back in the same council chamber where humanity had first been mocked, the original aliens gathered once more. The insectoid warlord, the Zalari commander, the Thalzir diplomat, all seated in quiet contemplation. They did not speak at first. They simply watched as a human representative stood before them, waiting. Then one of them, the reptilian ambassador who had once laughed the loudest, spoke. We have seen your way, he said, and we understand it now. He looked around at his peers. We ask, he continued, if Earth would consider drafting new universal rules. No one laughed. Instead, the human nodded once, gladly, and with that, the final lesson was complete. The greatest power in the universe was not strength. It was self-control, not weapons, but will, not domination, but discipline. And in the end, humanity had won not by conquering the stars, but by proving that even among chaos, there could still be order. Because sometimes the most dangerous thing in the galaxy is not a warship or a weapon. It's a species that means what it says and never backs down.